Okay Eddie, this is the final tutorial for your worksheet, better late than never. And I'll just recap over what you already probably know, but as a reference I think if we cover everything on this tutorial it'll be better for you. Okay, so we start, as you know, by being on the far left tab, the supply cost tab, and this is where we enter most of our data on this sheet, and that of course translates down the workbook, thus minimising the work that you have to do on the others. So if we just start at the top, obviously you enter your client's address here, you override the text that's already in the column, so company name, address, postcode and telephone number, and that will automatically work its way down the workbook, so you'd only have to enter that once. Okay, so onto the supply side itself. Now down the left hand column, in column A, you've of course got all the components that you supply and with the unit prices that are from the manufacturers. Now in the C column, you'll notice in the green column are the quantities that you're going to supply. Now this is where you make your first entries, and you enter the quantities you're going to supply, and this generates a total in the total column of the cost to you. The next column that you need to enter is the markup column, and as we specified, if you go to the markup column, you there have several options of 0%, 25% and 40%, and once you put in your markup percentage, you again see that it does the book all the way down. So that eventually gives you a total of supply cost as well as your markup, and then ultimately the cost to the client. There are two components at the bottom of this page that we need to consider, and as you know, there's the labour cost, and that component's just in here. We can see that the day rate is there, you put in your day rate, estimated time 5 days, that gives you your cost, you've marked up at 40%, gives you a total markup profit, and there's your total charge. Similarly, accommodation, again, hotel costs £80 per night including VAT. Unit is per night. You've got 5 nights, £400, 40% markup. Again, the options there to change your markup percentage if you wish. Gives you the total accommodation cost. Those fed into the supply cost give you an overall project cost of £2,696.40. So now if we move to the component order sheet, this is the purchase order that you can send to your supplier to order the equipment should the quotation be successful, and you can see that you don't have to do anything because the quantities have already been entered as you filled out the supply cost sheet, so that purchase order is set to go. The only thing that you've got to do on this page is effectively click on the terms and whatever terms you have arranged with that particular supplier, whether it be pro forma, on account, none, whatever. Now then, at this point we want to create a PDF to send the supplier or to print, and what I'm going to show you now applies to all of the components within the workbook, the quote, the invoice, everything. So if we go to the top left hand corner and it's file, down to print, and here we have a selection of printers, okay, and we can take a look at what we need, which is the Qt PDF writer, which of course you've installed on your laptop. That's the one we want. Over on the right hand side we have a print preview. This shows us how the layout page is going to look that we're going to send to your supplier, and then if we press print, and a little box comes up now with the file name, and this is going to be purchase order, let's just say, let's call it purchase order 1. Purchase order 1. And you can save that in your TPP file. So we save that. And if we quickly go and take a look at that PDF just to check that that's fine. So we'll get to your file specifically, and we can see, there we go, there it is, and there's your purchase order in a PDF format. That's ready now obviously to be emailed, or if you want to print it out and send it, that's fine. So that's the purchase order sorted. We next move on to quotation, and as you can see, the figure from the supply cost sheet has moved over to the subtotal, and at this point we've installed the VAT at 20%. This can be adjusted by us at any time there's a VAT decrease or increase, that's no problem, but it gives you the total amount. In the description area above, what you'll need to think about is adding what you want to do. And this is totally discretional down to you, whether you want to put in labour, component costs, whatever. However you want to word your quotation to your customer, that's fine. You'll create a PDF in exactly the same way, file at the top down to print, and you can see that it lays out the quotation in quite a neat format. Now it's worth mentioning at this point, Eddie, that we do need to consider with the quotation terms and conditions, payment terms, etc., etc. And these terms and conditions can be done by us in a legal format, or you can do them yourself by simply getting onto a website called simplydocs.co.uk. And there you can download legal documents that you can amend in a Word format to TPP Electrical, and they're totally legally binding. If you want any assistance on this, give me a call, or if you want us to do them for a small admin fee, we can sort that out. Okay, so we move now over to the invoice. And again, all the elements of the cost are there, and with the invoice you have a descriptive area where of course you can word your description yourself, and we've added on an extra works module there where you can add on extra works. Now just a note on the invoice page. This amount is set to translate across from the supply cost sheet. But of course if you add extra works here, what we will need to do is calculate the extra into this column here. And if this is going to be a regular thing, we may need to configure the invoice in a slightly different way, but you can let me know on that as you move forward. What we've done at the bottom, we've put you a selection of invoices in. We've given you 12 invoices for this particular client. And every time you use a new client, or you open up a new workbook for each client, okay? If you're just doing an invoice for a client that you've already done a supply cost to or whatever, and it's an extra invoice, all you need to do is to just open a new invoice in numerical order, obviously, and just type in what it is there, and you can just override them by inputting your own figures, which is no problem at all. Now all the invoices along the bottom, up to 12, will translate into our end tab, which is your statement. And as you can see with your statement, what we've got here is we've got a list of invoices, the dates, the descriptions will be there. If you want to put them, we can move the descriptions over from those invoices if you wish. Invoice numbers, and there's the amount. Now what we've got at the bottom, obviously we've got the 1 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, and over 90 days. Now I'll admit to you here, Eddie, this has been quite a complicated process, and I've had to ask Microsoft for an answer on a formula for this, and I await that formula. As soon as I have it, I of course will put it in and send you the amended workbook in due course. But at the moment it seems to be working in a kind of loose way, so I want you to keep your eye on this, and if you are using it in the short term, you perhaps want to run it by me before you do so. Okay, so that's generally your workbook. Okay, forward it over to you, and enjoy, and hopefully it works very well for you. Cheers, Eddie. Bye.